Disney and Pixar recently dropped some big news for their 2024 theatrical slate, with Pixar's three Disney Plus releases coming to theaters nationwide for the first time in the first few months of the new year. This is a major win for a lot of fans of animation, and of course I have to talk about it. Unfortunately, I'm a little late since I was out of town when this news dropped, but we moved forward, and I thought this was a great opportunity to talk about what we've got coming up this next year from the studio, since it's looking to be a pretty big, or perhaps their biggest year yet. I'll start off with that news I mentioned about 20 seconds ago and talk about these re releases, or theatrical expansions, we can call them, I suppose. Soul, Luca, and Turning Red, all some of the biggest streaming movies of all time, and definitely the biggest to go straight to Disney Plus, will be heading to theaters in the first few months of the year, with Soul on January 12th, Turning Red on February 9th, and finally Luca on March 22nd. Now, admittedly, it is a little annoying they aren't even premiering in chronological order. I have no idea why that is, though. Either they wanted Luca closer to the summer, or they're planning on releasing some new merchandise, and this was something on the distribution end. Either way, a lot of Pixar fans are excited for this, and this is something that many thought was out of the realm of possibilities at this point. I'd figured they'd eventually release them all in part with one of their Disney Plus days, where a few movies from all Disney subsidiaries had a mystery movie at AMC. But as soon as the strike started shifting productions back, this sort of lateral move became a given. I am just hoping these films are released in a significant number of theaters to actually make a dent. With these, we're continuing the tradition of a short before theatrical releases. It's gone through some interesting variations over the years. I'm just hoping it's here to stay. And preferably with those made by Pixar. No shade against Olaf or Maggie Simpson, though. Before Soul is the Spark short Burrow, which was intended to premiere ahead of it theatrically back in 2020, and they both ended up streaming on the same day, so it's nice to see that maintained. Ahead of Turning Red, we have another Spark short, Kipple. It makes a lot of sense to have these two representing the Spark short program, since these were the only two nominated for the Best Animated Short Film at the Academy Awards. And lastly, For the Birds will play before Luca, which is much older and the one I'm sure most are more familiar with, as it played before Monsters Inc. and has been a staple of the short film collections. They even showed it in the 40s show in Walt Disney World's Epcot for a while. While it may seem odd to pair this with a modern release, I believe it's paying tribute to Ralph Eggleston, director of the short and prominent member of the studio who unfortunately passed away in 2022. With these releases all set to air in the next few months, I'd say there's a solid chance that all these films, maybe not the shorts though, will be removed from Disney Plus. Probably not all at the same time, but when they're currently in theaters. There's no solid confirmation of this happening, but it happened with Avatar back in 2022, and it caused a bit of uproar then, so if you've never seen these or you just want to rewatch and you're adamant about not going to a movie theater, tune in now, I guess, since I don't see them giving a big announcement. They just won't be there one day if that is the case. We have another movie set for 2024 with Inside Out 2 releasing in June. I won't talk about it too much since there's already a video on my channel going over pretty much everything we know, but I think it's worth mentioning the short film conversation with it, as I believe we'll see a new Spark short accompany the film. Now, this part is a lot more speculative since I'm not sure any new short would be attached to Inside Out 2, but it is a great way to get eyes on new projects from newer creators. And though the Spark Short program hasn't released any new projects in about 2 years, I've seen some methods for obtaining information that I don't necessarily agree with that indicate some new Spark Shorts in 2024, so take with that as you will. I would be glad to see this program revitalized. I'm not sure if the teams that worked on these moved to other projects like Cars on the Road or Win or Lose, which we'll get to next, but it would be nice to see some new standalone stories being told on an individualistic level. Now on to Win or Lose. We've heard a lot about this series, but not many are really aware of its existence as of yet, and that's not too surprising since there's no trailer or release date set. Back at Disney's Investors Day in 2020, when the show was announced for 2023, it turned out to be Pixar's only project that didn't make its release. And I don't think that's to the fault of anyone involved, rather Disney prepping for a content drought because of the strikes. Producer David Lally did announce the series is fully complete a while back, so unless the production is being pushed to allow for dubbing in other countries, I'd say they're just wanting to fill some gaps. Plus, December, when it was announced for earlier this year, is pretty crowded with Percy Jackson and What If Now anyway. Prior to the news of the theatrical releases, I would have said it would release sometime around late February, early March, around when Ellie was initially dated, though now since I don't see them overlapping content as Pixar really doesn't put out enough in a given year, I'd expect Win or Lose to air shortly after Luca's re-release, as the start of the new MLB season will be full swing, and it would be good promotion to have a show about softball airing then. I'm sure Bob Iger is salivating at the thought of cross-promoting it on ESPN as well. I'm expecting this to be a weekly series because Pixar Animation is not cheap, and this is supposedly 10 22-minute episodes. But if they were going to drop it all at once, I could see it going in between Turning Red and Luca because that gap is a little bit longer, but I don't think that's reasonable. If Win or Lose does release in the first half of the year, 2024 is looking to be an out the gate powerhouse year for the studio. It's really good to see Disney working to put the brand on top of everyone's radar once again. So, like I said, big year for the studio, and this is only the first half. I wouldn't expect to see too much more beyond this. I feel like we could get a few more shorts later on in the year, either being Spark shorts or franchise continuations, but that is just speculation at this point. There is a rumored Inside Out series that's been in the news a few times, which could come out next fall or winter, but it's hard to say with Win or Lose already in play. Plus, there's already just a big question mark around it. Alright, everyone, that about does it for what looks to be next calendar year. Let me know what you're most excited for, and if you're planning on rewatching Soul, Luca, and Turning Red in theaters. I know I'll be seeing them all. I had to stop working on a longer video to discuss this news, but I've got many more videos in the pipeline, so I appreciate you all tuning in, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching.